Hello students, this is Kanika. Welcome to my channel PrepBiology. So we have started unit 1 of class 12th biology, that is reproduction, and we will continue with this. The chapter number 1, that is sexual reproduction in flowering plants. In this lecture, this is class 11th of this series. In this lecture, we will understand about the different agents of pollination. In the previous lecture, we have discussed the types of pollination. So today, by continuing with that class, we will discuss the different agents of pollination. Let's start with the lecture. As we all know that there are two broad types of the pollination: self-pollination, cross-pollination. We have discussed all about the self-pollination in the previous class and their types. So today, we will discuss about the different agencies under the cross-pollination or xenogamy. So there are two types of agencies or the agents present under the cross-pollination or xenogamy. First one is the abiotic agencies and second one is the biotic agencies. Okay, so let's start with the abiotic agents. As the name suggests, abiotic means non-living. Okay, non-living agents which helps in the pollination process. Okay, so under the abiotic agents, we have two main abiotic agents. First one is the by water and by winds. Okay, so the first agency under the abiotic agent is the pollination by water, and second one is the pollination by winds. So if we talk about the terminology that is used for the pollination by wind, is that term is called the anemophily. Anemophily means the transfer of the pollens from anther to the stigma with the help of wind. Okay, so that is called the anemophily. Now, if the transfer of the pollens from anther to the stigma occurs with the help of water, then it is called the hydrophily. Hydro means water. Okay, so these two terms are very important. What do you mean by anemophily and what do you mean by hydrophily? Let's discuss now about the adaptations of a wind pollinated flower first. So there are different features of the flower which transfer their pollens with the help of wind. Okay, so the first character or the feature of the flower is the flowers are small, colorless. The flowers are small, colorless, nectarless. Okay, so the first feature is for the wind pollination, the flowers are small in size, they are colorless and nectarless. The second feature is the anthers are well exposed so that the pollens are easily transferred from one flower to the next flower. The third feature is the pollen grains. Pollen grains are small, light, dry, dusty in nature and non-sticky. So these all are the features of the pollen grains. The pollen grains are small, light-weighted, dry, dusty and non-sticky. Why non-sticky and why they are small, light, dry? So that they can easily move from one plant to the another plant with the help of wind. Okay. Next is the stigma. The stigma are large, hairy, okay, feathery. Sometimes it is feathery, so that it can to catch the airborne pollen grains. Okay, if the transfer of the pollens occurs with the help of the wind, So what is the structure of the stigma? So the stigma must be large in shape, hairy, feathery in nature, so that it can catch the airborne pollen grains. Now the last feature of this adaptation is it has only one ovule. It has only one ovule in the ovary. So these all are the features of wind pollinated flower. Okay, so these all features are very, very important. You should know about the adaptations of wind pollinated flower. Now, if we see the example of the wind pollinated flower, we have the example. This is the plant. This is the plant of cone. Okay, and this is the cone cob. Cone cob. The cone cob is the major example under the pollination by wind, because if you see the tassels, these are called the tassels. Okay, if you see the tassels of the cone cob, these are all are the tassels. Okay, they are hairy, feathery in nature. Okay, so these are the tassels of the cone cob. These contain, the upper part contains stigma and the lower part contains style. Okay, so this is the nature of the pistil, which is wavy in nature, so that it catches the pollen grains from wind easily. Okay, so the nature of the tassels of the cone cobs is, it is feathery, hairy or wavy in nature, so that it can easily catch the pollen grains which are present in the air current. Okay, so this type of pollination, the pollinating agencies is present in the cone cob tassels. Okay, so the another examples of the pollination by wind is, in some of the grasses, it is seen that the pollination occurs with the help of wind. So these are the examples. Please note it down. These examples are very, very important. Now we have discussed the abiotic agents, and under the abiotic agents we have already discussed the pollination by wind. Okay, so now the second abiotic agent is the pollination by water, that is hydrophily. So let us discuss the adaptations of the water pollinated flower. What are the main features of the water pollinated flower? So first feature is the flower. The flowers are small, colorless, odorless, and nectarless. So the flower should be small, colorless, odorless, or nectarless. Second feature is that the stigma. The stigma are long and sticky in nature. So we have discussed in the wind pollinated flower, the stigmas are wavy, feathery. Okay, so that it can easily catch the pollen grains from the air current. But in water pollinated flower, the stigmas are long and sticky in nature. Okay, long and sticky in nature. Now the pollen grains. The pollen grains are protected. They are protected by from water. The pollen grains are protected from water by special mucilaginous covering. Okay, so from the protection of the water, because the plant is present in the water and the pollination occurs with the help of water current. So for the protection, from the water, the pollen grains are covered by special kind of jelly-like mucilaginous covering. Okay, So these all are the features of water pollinated flower. Now let us discuss the example of water pollinated flower. Okay, so if we see the example, there are two kinds of examples present. First is the in fresh water and in marine water. Okay, in fresh water we have examples, very important from your for your board exam point of view. In fresh water there are Vallisneria, which is an aquatic plant. Vallisneria, this is the scientific name, okay, and Hydrilla. These are two plants, aquatic plants, which are present in the fresh water and they pollinate with the help of water. Okay, in marine water there are example. There is an example that is called the aquatic plant that is called the Zoostera, which is also called the sea grasses. So these two examples are comes under the water pollinated aquatic plant. Now, if we see the, this is the picture of Vallisneria. Okay. Now understand it carefully. If we see in the Vallisneria, this is the structure of a plant, full plant. Okay. If we see the male flower, it looks like this, and if we see the female flower, it looks like this. Okay. So female flower are long. Okay. We have discussed that the stigma, the stalk of the stigma is long in shape. Okay. So if we see in this picture, the female flowers are seen on the surface of water. Okay, so these have long stalks present and the female flowers are present, reach on the surface of water. This is the male flower. If we see the male flower, the pollen release onto the surface of water. These are the pollens. Okay, these are the pollens. They are released on the surface of water and they move it, carried by the water current, and reach to the female flower. So in this, the pollens are carried by the water. That's why in Vallisneria the pollination occurs with the help of water. That process is called the hydrophily. Okay. What is hydrophily? The transfer of the pollen grains from anther to the stigma with the help of water current. That process is called the hydrophily. Okay. I hope this example is clear to you all. Okay. Now, if we see the abiotic agents, we have covered the pollination by wind and pollination by water. So, in the water, pollination by water, there are some more important points. Let us discuss that. The first point is not all aquatic plants use water for pollination. This is very important, for pollination. Why? This question is very important, that why not all aquatic plants use water for pollination, because if we see the example like water hyacinth, this is one example, and second example is water lily. In these two plants, we see that the pollination is not by water because the flowers emerge the level of water. Okay, so the flowers are present on the surface, emerges. Okay, the flowers emerge the level of water, That's why in water hyacinth and water lily, the pollination occurs by wind or by insects. This point is very important. Okay, so note it down. Not all aquatic plants use water for pollination, because if we see in case of the water hyacinth and the water lily, the flowers of both the plants emerges the level of water. That's why they pollinate with the help of wind and or insects. Okay, so the second point, which is very important under the hydrophily, that is the pollination by water, that it is rare in flowering plants. Okay, it is rare in flowering plants. It only occurs in about 30 genera of monocots. Okay, monocots, that is monocotyledons. In monocotyledons, only in about 30 genera the hydrophily, that is the pollination by water, occurs. And the third point under the hydrophily is important, that it mostly occurs in lower groups of plants like algae, bryophytes and pteridophytes. So these all points are very, very important. So this is all about abiotic agents. Okay, now let us discuss about the biotic agents. Now let's discuss about the second type of agencies or agents, that is the biotic agents of pollination. So if the pollination occurs by the biotic agencies, like by the living organisms, like by animals, birds, insects, etc. So that kind of agencies are called the biotic agents. Okay. So under this we have different categories like animals. Okay, like by birds, transfer of pollens occurs with the help of bats, insects, large animals. Okay, arboreal means free tree dwelling animals, arboreals, and the reptiles. So we have different categories with the help of which the pollination occurs under the biotic agents. If we see the animals, we have the butterflies, okay, we have the beetles, we have flies, wasps, moths, etc. By birds, if the pollination occurs with the help of birds, we have like sunbird, hummingbird, etc. Okay, with the help of bats, with the help of insects, mostly by bees. Okay, most dominating type of insect by which the pollination occurs, that is the bees. We have the large animals like primates, like lemurs. The next category is the arboreal, that is the tree dwelling animals like rodents. Okay, and we have the reptiles like gecko, lizard, and garden lizard. So these all are the agents which help in the which comes under the biotic agents, which helps in the pollination. Okay, so this chart is very, very important. So let's start with the first discuss about the different adaptations of biotic pollinated flower. Okay, so under this we have insect pollination, bat pollination, we have all these kind of pollinations, with the help of these all living organisms the pollination occurs. What are the adaptations of the biotic pollinated flower? The first adaptation is the flower are large, colorful, so that it can attract the insects, birds, animals. Okay, large, colorful, have a fragrance for the attraction of the different animals, birds. Okay, the flower is rich in nectar, so that it can easily attract the bees and flies, butterflies, etc. It is the pollen grains. The pollen grains should be sticky in nature. They are sticky in nature. Okay. So that the different moths, butterflies stick on the surface of the pollens. Now, the pollen grains are produced in a large number. The next point is the plant should give reward to the biotic agent. Okay, the plant should give reward to the biotic agent. So, what is the meaning of this point? Understand it carefully. If this okay, the last point of the adaptation is the plant should give a reward to the biotic agent. So, if this is a flower and this is the any insect that visit the flower and stick on the surface of the anther and carry the pollen grains to the another flower. Okay, so by doing this, what is the benefit to this insect? For that, this plant will give some of the reward in the form of food or nectar or in the form of safe place to lay their eggs. Okay. What is the meaning of this statement? That if this bee or this insect will lay their egg on the surface of the flower, so it frequently come or visit this flower, and that is beneficial to the plant also, because whenever the insect will come, it will carry the pollens and the transfer of the pollen occurs from one flower to the next flower. Okay, so for this the plant should give the reward in the form of reward to the biotic agent by giving them food or nectar or for the safe place to lay eggs. Now, if we see the example of moth and a yucca plant, look at this picture. This is a moth. Okay, this is a moth and this is a yucca plant. Okay, this plant will never complete their cycle. Okay, it is incomplete if moth is not coming on the surface of that plant. Why? Because if we see the yucca plant and moth, the plant will give the pollen. The plant will give the pollen to the moth, and what is the reward given by the plant? So the moth deposit its eggs in the locule of ovary of yucca plant. So this is the example of how plants helps to deposit the moth's eggs in the locule of the ovary. In return, the moth take the pollen from one plant to the another plant. So when the seeds start developing in the plant, then the larva comes out from the moth. Okay, so this is the example. Moth and the yucca plant are the examples by that shows how the plants give reward to the biotic agent for the pollination. Okay, so if we see the if we see different biotic agents, there is a terminology which is very important, that the pollination by insects, that term is called the entomophily. Pollination by birds, that is called the ornithophily. Pollination by animals, large animals or small animals, that is called the zoophily. Pollination by bats, that is called the chiropterophily. Pollination by snakes, that is called the ophiophily. If the pollination occurs by the snails, that is called the malacophily. If the pollination occurs by the ants, that is called the myrmecophily. So these all terms are very, very important. So make sure you note it down carefully. Okay. So this is all about the agents of the pollination, biotic and abiotic agents. Okay. So you can see here, these are the pictures that shows the pollination occurs with the help of bees. Okay. The pollination occurs by the help of bats. Pollination occurs with the help of birds. So on. So this is all about today's class. I have discussed each and every part of agents of pollination, types, examples. Okay. So I hope this lecture is beneficial to you all. This is all about today's lecture. If you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe and share my channel, that is PrepBiology. Keep studying, study hard, study smart. Thank you so much.